It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this. Time to rank some Hitman locations. I'm in a very Hitman mood, Mike. I don't know about you.
I feel like you've been in a Hitman mood the last 5 years or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. I mean, there's definitely times where I'm like, I have to play it, and of course, the new game came out, so I really wanted to be playing it. And I've put a lot of time into it. I haven't actually gone back to the levels from Hitman 1 and Hitman 2 in Hitman 3 a bunch yet, but I am looking forward to doing so, and I might use our tier list here to decide which ones I should do first. So I'm looking forward to going through all of these with you. So if people aren't aware, we're going to start from the beginning, Hitman 1 2016, go all the way through Hitman 3. We're going to go take each level and we're going to put them in, you want to like go ahead and just,
1 of 5 tiers. Yeah, nothing too clever this time, but just best, great, good, okay, not good.
cool. And yeah, I think there's going to be stuff that goes all over the board. I think we're going to be, I don't think there's anything that's like terrible in a Hitman level, but there's definitely some ones that are not good.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, there's no like shit tier, right? Like,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. But I think we're going to get pretty good representation throughout this tier list. I definitely have my personal favorites. I'll be interested to see if they match up with yours. But I'm ready to get going if you are. You want to just
yeah, let's do it. We've
Okay.
got quite 21 of these, so let's get through them.
ICA training facility. I have fond memories of playing this one. And what do you feel about it?
I mean, this is the first Hitman experience I ever had, and it immediately sold me on it. It did a really good job of kind of guiding you through that experience, but not feeling completely handholdy. And it still has so the first time you do it, you kind of go through that one route where you take out the guard, you become the guard, you go in through that kind of garage area. Then, like very quickly, the next time you realize, oh, that guy is there for his meeting, and he's right there. I could be that guy, right? It's deliberately simple, but it has a lot going on, and it teaches you how the whole rest of the trilogy is going to work, basically, very effectively. I also like the whole kind of like it's supposed to all be actors, right? Like you're recreating an old hit from that the agency
Mm-hmm.
did a while ago as a test. That's kind of fun. I mean, we'll get to it later, but I think this is a much better first level than the one that starts Hitman 2, to be honest.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but
Really, really,
I
I guess
like
we'll get
Hawks.
to that.
I like Hawk. Yeah, but we'll talk about it.
I say I have no love for Hawke's Bay,
Okay.
but I think this is better than Hawke's Bay.
I like this one. I think you're right. It establishes the tone for the series. It establishes the mechanics. It shows you almost all the basic things you can do, and yet you're still going to be doing really wacky, fun stuff, shooting people into ceilings and stuff like that. I really like this stage, but it's not like it's not one that you're going to go back to a ton. It's a training stage. It is meant to like get you into the gameplay, and you're supposed to go play the other levels. So for this one, I'm like, I like it. I would probably just put it at okay though.
I could almost do good, but I think okay maybe seems right. It is small and it's meant to be. It's very good as an intro level compared to like all the other levels. Like that's not the one you want to necessarily go through and play a zillion times, I guess.
Yeah, it's really good for an intro level. I'll agree to that. That brings us to Paris though. And Paris
Hit her already.
Yeah, Paris is it's just a really a standout level. It is it's a fashion show. You are there's a million ways to do everything. This is when the series still had a ton of they have a lot of story missions, so they really just hand you all the cool stuff you could do right there on a platter. And I like that stuff, and yet there's still like really wacky things in the level. Like you can find the vampire tuxedo vampire guy, like that outfit hidden somewhere, and there's challenges to kill people as the tuxedo vampire dude, and you feel like the Phantom of the Opera. It's there's just a lot going on in this level. I really
Right.
like it.
I love that kind of like, fashion show aesthetic thing going on. I love how like when you walk in, you immediately see one of your targets. And we know now if you could kill him right there if you really know what's up, but for most people, it's like, oh, there he is. I can't kill him now. And I love that kind of setup of the two targets where there's the one guy who's kind of walking around,
Mm-hmm.
just surrounded by people. So the trick is to isolate him. And then there's the other target who's just in some place really secure. And the trick is almost just getting there. Yeah, this is to me, this was kind of the ideal formula for level. This is the best for me. This level
Yeah.
is fantastic. I generally prefer some of the more enclosed levels anyway, like this one, that they're still big, but they're kind of built around like a general building.
Yeah, and I think I just like all the different ways that you can get to the really secure target. She's yeah, she doesn't leave her top floor very often. And once you get up there and you like once you like you brute force your way up there, like you get the outfit, you find a way to get to that top floor. And then you start finding all the exits from like working backwards. Like you go to the room where she's in, where she's alone sometimes, and then you find the windows, and you're like, oh, there's all this stuff happening on this in this attic area. It really makes you feel like you are discovering a place, and that feels really good. It's when Hitman is at its best, I think.
Do you did you ever do the fireworks thing? Because I never quite got to that point.
I did, and this I did that a long time ago now, years ago now. But I really yes, that's when I was like, oh man, I really should just be like trying to knock off all these challenges because there's so many fun things hidden inside them if you pull them off. And yeah, I think doing the fireworks is how you get how you're able to shoot her and then have her fall down on him and kill him, I think. Or you could push her off
Right.
and she falls down and lands on him and you kill both of them at the same time. That kind of stuff is always great. It always feels good because you
Right.
never feel like they're never crossing paths. How would I do that? And when you unlock that, it feels really nice.
Right. So yeah, that's a best. And but there's another really popular one right after that with Sapienza. I know you really like Sapienza.
Yeah, I think this is like the other sort of ideal stage where I know you like the enclosed areas, but if you're doing a kind of a big open area, this one really works because it
Right.
has it has such different vibes throughout the area. Like
Right. You have the village, you have like his kind of compound, and then you have that underground lab section.
yes,
And then but they all are connected to each other and they all kind of work with each other in pretty fun and interesting ways. Yeah, like I don't like this level quite as much as Paris, but not by that much. This is also very great.
yeah, yeah, and I really I think looking back, I probably also like Paris a little bit more. But Sapienza is fantastic just because you do start out in such a disparate area compared to where you're going to end up in that level. You start off sitting on a bench looking like Mr. Worldwide Pitbull, and you have no access to anywhere. You really have to force yourself into places. And
And it
then
has a sorry, go ahead.
and I was gonna say, and then you end up wearing like the science outfit, destroying
Yeah.
the virus in this underground lab like a James Bond level, and it feels so good.
It has a very good kind of the storyline that they want you to do that first time where you become like chef's brother and you
Hmm.
poison the spaghetti with the old spaghetti sauce. That's a really fun way to guide people through that level the first time. So I like
Yes.
that story mission a lot.
And I think this is also a stage where there's so much going on where when you begin to break away from the prescribed ways of doing things, there are so many opportunities to get really playful and really creative as a player. And that's again where Hitman shines. And this stage is absolutely it's magical for that sort of thing. So, but I am okay with I think maybe putting this one in great, but maybe it probably should end up in best.
Yeah, it could go either way for me. Uh,
Let's put it in best for now, and then
yeah,
is that yeah Sapienza. All right, there we go.
if it,
And
yeah,
then if we need to put it
if it
down,
gets crowded,
yes.
maybe we'll rethink. But so here's Marrakesh, which this level is interesting, but it's almost like two levels kind of in one, right? You have that U.S. embassy part, and you have that kind of military compound part. And I think that's interesting. I don't necessarily love how separate these two things are from each
Hmm.
other. I wish they almost kind of worked with each other a little bit more. And there are some ways that they do, but yeah, not my favorite level. It's still good. It's fun. I do like the embassy part quite a bit, especially when you like figure out to become that guy's masseuse and you get him alone there. That's good fun.
Yeah, again, this is like what happens with Hitman games is even when you find a level that you don't immediately fall in love with, and even if the level is not, it's not a Sapienza and it's not a Paris, once you start playing it enough, you find all of the hidden ways in which it actually is still pretty good. It's still really fun to play. Marrakesh is definitely that. It's one where I think I butt my head up against it for a little bit, especially in that crowded market area. But once I did find the pass, once I learned where it was trying to push me, and learning like how I could pull off a suit only like sniper rifle challenge, I really did find myself still liking this one quite a bit. But it's not a classic in the way that those other ones were.
No, it's maybe good.
I think it's maybe good. I think that's probably exactly right.
Uh, Bangkok I like more. This is another one of those kind of just in like a big building level, and there's two wings. The one wing is just like the hotel, and it's almost like Paris, right?
Yes.
There's that one target you see immediately, and he's walking around with everybody. Then there's that guy who's sort of further. He's kind of just hard to get to because he's got a lot of security. He's that music artist, right? There's a lot of fun
Right.
ways to kill him
Yes.
specifically with the mic and there's a birthday cake and
The
all that
drumming.
stuff. The
Did you do the drumming one? Yes, so
and
good.
yeah, so I like this. It's not quite as good as a Marrakesh or a Paris, maybe. So maybe it's just
Or
great. But
Sapienza or Paris? Yeah.
Sapienza, excuse me,
Yeah.
excuse me.
No.
Sapienza or Paris, but I do like this one. But I also like the whole hotel thing with just like getting into other people's rooms. I think we'll get to it later. I think Japan does that a bit better. That same idea, but I like it here too.
I'm for great as well. I think you're right. In the director's commentary in Hitman 3 for one of the levels, they talked about how they thought they were going to have people. They were going to start people out inside a building with an outfit that would be able to get them a lot of places. And they're like, well, we'll make it really clear that people should try to be that person, but instead we still want people to break into the house, because breaking into things as Agent 47 is really key experience in these games, and this level is really good about that. You are constantly breaking into people's hotel rooms, and that always feels, it's like one of those things where like you go to a hotel and you're supposed to just go from the lobby to your room, and you're supposed to ignore all this other stuff, and it's in this game it plays into this weird fantasy. It's like, what if this place was just my playground? What if I could just do anything here? And I really, really like that. And also, this is the level where I realized, this is a Hitman 1, and I hadn't played any Hitman games before this, but then seeing Agent 47 playing the drums, and just realizing, oh, they're just gonna play into this. Anytime he's not just gonna like be able to put on any outfit and look like anybody to all these people. He'll just do anything, and he does it better than everyone else. It's so good. I really like the stage. So yeah, great is where I would put it as well.
Yeah, all right, you can't be a homer for Colorado now.
I know I won't be a homer for Colorado. This is the worst of the Hitman 1 levels for sure.
Yeah, I like how there's so many targets. I think that's fun, and and there's some chances where you can kill some of them at the same time. I like that whole thing where you're like in the mock like car siege thing, and you use that battering ram to kill both of them. That's fun. But I mean, and it's supposed to be ugly, right? It's a crappy militia installation, but it's still ugly, right? Like I don't necessarily enjoy being there. I don't like how you're funneled into that tiny house at the very end every time, because you have to do the whole face mask thing. It's maybe okay at best, but it's not my favorite. Yeah, it's the worst of Hitman 1s, I think, for sure.
Yeah, I think okay. Yeah, it's the worst of Hitman 1s, and yet again, I still, once I played it enough, I really enjoyed breaking through. This is a level where there's more barriers, and it's harder to move through it than any of the other stages in Hitman 1, and that's frustrating, because you get used to being able to just throw a coin, take someone's outfit, walk in where they just were, and this place makes that a lot more difficult. You have to be a lot more meticulous, a lot slower. But once you realize how you can move through the stage, there is some fun stuff there to explore.
I mean, even the worst Hitman levels, they're still fun, right?
Exactly. Yes.
But there's kind of right.
But
compared to the rest of these ones,
it just doesn't embody the spirit of Hitman in the way that I want, and as much.
I mean, I can almost say not good. If not good, it's going to end up being really lonely. Like maybe this is one of the not good ones. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely better than I think the ones that I'm like imagining and not good. But
okay, well, we can put an okay for now.
Okay. Hokkaido. This is one I really liked as soon as I played it.
I love Hokkaido. And this is just another like thing that I like. This kind of like weird mix of like super almost unsettlingly clean and nice, like resort with the whole. Also, it's a hospital, and also it's in Japan. Just a really interesting aesthetic level. One of the more creative ones too, right? It's not just a Japan level. It's a Japan hospital for the super rich, and it's also kind of a black market thing.
Yeah.
It's a resort area too. So there's like the restaurant, there's the spa, and the whole like all these different rooms that you can go to. And instead of keys, it's the robe that's the key to your room. There's like that. There's like that Texas oil baron guy. You can.
They're so good about planning those kinds of characters. Like right next to where you're starting. You can hear his phone conversation. They make everything that they want you to experience so enticing. They're experts at that stuff. It's so
Right.
nice.
It's pretty classic Hitman stuff. Again, you have that girl who is kind of out there, and you see her. It's about figuring just how to kill her with so many eyes on her, and like the sushi poisoning is kind of the most obvious route at first, and that's a lot of fun.
Hmm.
And then there's that guy who's getting surgery right now, and it's hard to get to him. But there's so many ways to kill him. And what's great is that you don't have to necessarily like kill him. You could take care of the donor heart, and that's
Yes.
super neat, right? That's great.
They whenever they give you a way to like to kill someone from through proxy or just by standing back and figuring it, being really smart about the way things would work in this world, that's always great. This level's good about that. I have fond memories of trying to figure out how to get the helicopter key and taking over the helicopter and escaping through the helicopter. There's just a lot of cool stuff happening in this level as well. It's also the level that makes me really happy that IO Interactive continues to incorporate these games or these levels into the games as it goes forward. Because I don't remember if Hitman 1 in 2016 had HDR when it launched, but Hitman 2 definitely did. Because 2016 is the time when like HDR was like maybe you put it in there, but probably not.
Sure. I don't think I knew what HDR was in 2016.
2018 though, every game should have it by then,
Well,
and
especially when PlayStation 4 Pro and Xbox like they
Exactly.
need those 4K in that.
right. And so I had the Xbox One X, and I had it connected to an HDR TV, and that level looks so good. When you load it up, and it's
So
got the
pretty.
snowy mountains of Japan. It's just so good looking. It really shows off that engine, and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad that they continue to update these levels, and now through Hitman 3, of course.
Like
Yeah.
I know we already have two in best, but I don't know like I don't know what's wrong with this level. I like this level a lot. Might
Yeah.
for now. Let's figure it out.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm really looking forward to going back and playing some more of that.
All right, so tell me why do you like Hawke's Bay? Hawke's Bay seems too simple to me. It seems less interesting than the ICA training facility.
I like it because it's a really smart way to get people to feel comfortable moving around in the Hitman level, because it starts off empty. It's empty. You just walk to this house and you break into the house, and there's no threat. There's no risk. You just go to this house and you figure out how to get inside of it, and you're completely comfortable because there's no guards walking around. You don't have to deal with the combat. You don't have to deal with getting discovered. And then once you get to a point where like you have like mastered that stuff to like as much as you can in a training level, then the guards come, and now it's really thrilling. And now you have to like figure out how to actually pull off this stuff. And it's just a house. It is very simple. It is very small. But I'm really glad that there's just a small house level in this thing because again, we talk about like one of the thrilling things about this series is breaking into places, and the idea of just breaking into a house and trying to pull off an assassination without anyone spotting you and sort of slipping out the back with all these guards, completely unaware. There's a power fantasy there that I really appreciate. I'm a sicko is what I'm trying to say. I'm a sicko.
Yeah, you're not gonna get it any higher than good for me, and I would put it in okay at best. Maybe, I don't know.
I think good is where it belongs. Good is where it belongs.
Miami though, Miami's another good one. I mean, by good I mean not mid tier good. I mean, I'll tell you what too. Maybe because I'm starting to actually miss like the cons and stuff. This is the thing that makes me think the most of like going to those video game conferences. That VIP area you go to with like the mascots walking around, and there's just bars and all the networking and just people trying to shill products. It's tacky, but now just because I haven't done it in a while because of COVID, I miss it.
I feel pretty similar. I think I might have played this stage too much, where it's like you really like play it out when you play it for nonstop and you really try to perfect everything. And I think this is one of the stages I tried a little bit of speed running. So I got a little bird down on it, but that just means like I played it so much because I loved it that much. It's
the level that maybe flirts with being too big. It is very big. There's a lot of space for two targets. It is very big.
Yeah, and again, it's in the way that I was happy that there's a super small single house level. I'm glad that this big level is in this Hitman, one of these three Hitman games. I appreciate that, and it really is great at being a huge level. And I like the ways that they incorporate the race into the ways that you can assassinate people.
Yes, that's great. How you can mess with her car and mess with
Yeah,
her while she's actually racing, and then later she just becomes a normal target. But at first, you can mess around with her in a pretty unique way for the series.
and, yeah, and you when you put us in that environment, you imagine, man, I should be able to do that, right? And when they pull it off, every time they do that, I'm always grateful, but also still impressed. And for me, I think this level fits in probably right at great.
I think so. Yeah,
Okay,
that's what I was thinking. Great, because like I have some small issues with it, as opposed to like the ones we have in best. I
I
suppose,
agree.
right?
Yes, that sounds right to me. Santa Fortuna, which I think is Colombia. I did not love this level. This one felt like this game's
Um,
Colorado a little bit.
yeah, a little bit like that, but also a little bit like a little bit like Marrakesh too, where all these separate areas they kind of felt isolated from each other. Like there's like these 3 or 4 targets, and they didn't seem to interact with each other a ton necessarily. And at this point, it was like, oh, they have the underground like lab area too. It was almost beginning to feel a little old hatty that a little bit.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, and nothing here really stands out for me.
I think the one thing that stands out is the drug dealer and his alarm. The thing you do there, where you sabotage the alarm, I think, and then I can't remember the exact
Yeah,
details, but I remember
yeah.
enjoying that stuff. And the drug dealer was sort of goofy, and I like that. I remember seeing that whole setup from like 20 feet away. Being okay. This could be fun, and maybe I think this is the one that has the I think it's a mariachi band or something like that you could be a part of. I like that to a certain extent. Uh, but yeah, this one probably, excuse me, this one probably also goes into okay, I think.
Yeah, I think it's just okay. Which I mean, Mumbai. What do you think about Mumbai?
Uh, I go back and forth on it. There's parts of Mumbai I really like. I like the train yard. I do like.
Treyarch's great. Yeah,
Anytime I ended up in the sewer, I didn't really love. I just don't like dingy places in games.
yeah, sure.
And that was very dingy. It was okay. And honestly, but then the tower was also really cool. So it's like I think the places where the targets actually hang out, the main targets, those places are cool. Everywhere else was either over busy, and of course it's Mumbai. That's the whole idea. But it felt over busy as a game, or it felt dingy and sort of gross, and almost felt the people that were in the underground almost felt like Fallout villains to a certain
Yeah,
extent.
yeah, I know. What did you think about the whole like that kind of randomized target? Right, you don't know who it is. You have to find the identity. It's
Um,
kind of neat.
yeah, I think that was a smart trick to play at this point in the series, and it worked for me. I think for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, this one's also okay or good for me. Just nothing. Nothing. It's better than Santa Fortuna, I guess.
I would put it in good. Yeah, I
But in
would.
good.
Yeah, this is one that I enjoyed speed running as well. So I was doing that on the Xbox Series X just recently. So yes. Um, Whittleton Creek. Now there's a good stage right there.
Yeah, it's pretty great, huh? And it's
Yeah.
it's so it feels so different from everything that came before it,
Hmm.
which I think is really, or even after, right? We don't really have anything else like this, and yeah, it really does get that kind of, it does that good suburbia thing, but also the kind of like weird, kind of unsettling suburbia
Yes.
thing very well. The targets are great here. It's again, it's that classic thing. There's one guy kind of walking about, and then there's the one guy who's in a really secure location.
Hmm.
And you also have to get the clues and stuff. And again, there's like pretty early on, it's like, oh, the one way they definitely want me to do this is to become the real estate agent, and that's a lot of fun. You can kill him
Very
in that
good.
that laser
Mm.
room in that house. Um,
And again, when you're the writing in Hitman 2, the writing got really good, and by the writing I don't necessarily just mean the story. I mean the things that Agent 47 says, or the ambient dialogue that happens. And this is some of Agent 47's best dialogue. Every room that you show off in that house as the real estate agent, he turns it into some weird pun about killing people,
he
and
sounds like a psychopath, and it's great because he
it's
is.
so
He is a
great. It's
psychopath.
so great.
He's not normal. He's
It,
not okay.
it's every time. It is so funny. The voice actor for Agent 47 is so good, and he knows exactly what they're doing. He knows that you just got to be monotone. You can't ever inflect your voice. You just got to be that psycho. It's so good.
And
And
there's
yeah,
some people having like that barbecue at the one
yeah.
house. And it's so much almost like finding getting into hotel rooms. It's fun. Each house, it's
Yes.
fun figuring out how to get into that house and seeing what's in there.
And
And some of the
yeah, each house has like its own like characteristic where like you recognize it if you like have ever lived in suburbia. Like the house that's being renovated and the backyard is all run over by weeds. Even the one house that's being fumigated. And actually, all the ways that you can use the fumigation to either to knock people out or kill people. It's so good.
yeah, it might be another best. Might be another best. Might be
I
Hitman
want.
2's best level.
Yeah, I think it's Hitman 2's best level for sure. Yeah. Although I also really like Eye of Sgail.
Yeah, Sgail was also pretty good, huh?
Yeah, so for me, this is one where the writing is absolutely at its best, and it's usually from all the dialogue you hear, because this is a level where it is the elite of the elite coming together for this secret meeting about how they are going to hide in their bunkers as the world gets destroyed, and how they'll get to survive and everyone else won't, and everything they say perfectly encapsulates the ways in which these people are both rich and assholes and deserve to die. It's so good at that stuff, and yet and also at the same time the environment is so fun to explore.
The Illuminati Castle, yeah, it's great.
Illuminati Castle, yeah, that's exact a good way of putting
I guess
it.
you might have to correct me here because I didn't. I'm sure I didn't play this level as much as you. The one thing I didn't find like the stories as interesting in this one. I actually just freeformed to this level and enjoyed it more that way. I don't know if that's just me on this
No,
one.
I think you might be right. I think this might have been the level where they imagined that people would freeform it more. And I think the stories, yes, I think the stories were harder to pull off as well. I think that was a big part of it. Like, they put you in position where maybe you could do something, but I don't think they handed you the murder like they do in a lot of the other story missions. But this is a good stage for being creative and coming up with your own solutions. But it's also the vibe is very consistent throughout, and they nail it. The Illuminati Castle,
Yes,
but
yeah.
there's not a ton of other stuff necessarily going on. You're not gonna like discover some area and be like, whoa, I didn't expect to see this. It's just this one big Illuminati Castle. I think for me, it probably does go into great, although it's like a very high on the great
It's a
list.
very high grade. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Because if I put it in best, it would be my least favorite of those five.
Agreed. Yes, I yes, and it's like Bangkok, Miami. It is above those, but it's like just above. It's right in between.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Illuminati, Mike Illuminati.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were going to mention it.
I mentioned it. Let's get to these bizarrely fantastic DLC levels.
Yeah,
man.
you really get the sense that they really polish these ones up. So we start with New York. It's a bank level. Really, what they're doing is they have a list of like what would be a cool place to have a Hitman level in. They're just checking stuff off. They're a hotel, just a single house, a suburban area, a bank, and they nail it. The bank is so much fun to infiltrate.
This is the level where I accidentally played it on master mode the first time, so I could only save once, which I did immediately because I didn't know. But yeah, this is great. And talking about like Hitman or Agent 47 sounding like a psychopath, the job interview where he has the ink blots. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's good. And then after I did it, I realized that there were the posters behind it. Like, oh, I could like do better at this job interview and probably get like immediate access to a target or something. Also like that bank aesthetic, like in
Yes.
downtown Youngstown where I live, that reminds me so much of that. And back, I was like a clerk at a law firm when I was at high school or as a summer job, and it reminds me so much of running errands there and at those old like town courthouses and stuff. Like I vibe with it in a way. It's like again, it's gaudy and like kind of obnoxious almost, but yeah, they nailed what those old town banks, like old city banks, feel like.
Yeah, and breaking into a bank vault is just cool. It's always cool, and this is a level where you absolutely could still play it like a sneaky Hitman level. But if you go loud on this level, it feels a little bit like Heat. It almost feels like you can just get that shotgun, once you get into the vault. Now let's get out. Let's just shoot our way out, and it's fun at that point. Hit the combat in Hitman is it's never been fantastic, but the sort of stop and popping, the getting behind cover and shooting here, it really works in that bank aesthetic, and I had fun doing that a couple of times.
It's fun. It's fun how there's that whole thing going on where like there's like a scandal and there's a reporter there, and it almost seems unrelated to what you're there for, but you can kind of make it work for you. If there's I don't know, is this level maybe too small. I don't know if it is. I just
Yeah.
wanted to throw it out there.
No, yeah, you might be onto something because, like, I imagine in my head, like, oh man, and there's all these places I haven't explored, and no, I just thought there would be more over to the sides, and there wasn't. It's very much the middle row, and then you can go down, and it's maybe a little.
It's the one level where you don't even start outside, right? You talk about how breaking in is fun. You are in the bank, which
Yeah.
makes sense. It's a public bank,
Right.
but it is a little not sad, but like you are missing a little bit of that starting outside, going into the bank,
Mhm.
maybe having a little area. Maybe there's like a coffee shop across the street where some sad broker is, and you could become that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe that is, as silly as it is, the one thing that's going to keep it out of best.
Yeah, let's put it in great. Yeah, let's put it in great because I think Haven, the next level, is the one I haven't played as much as you, and
I
it's
love
still
Haven.
I'm
It's
definitely
one of
looking
my
forward to it. And yeah, and I guess let me hear it because I think this one's probably going to end up in best.
I mean, yeah, part of it is again that aesthetic thing, right? Like this level is beautiful, and especially right now, it feels like you're on vacation. Like I could just go there and vibe. I really could. You're on these. You have your own bungalow. It's so fun because you start off and you're registered to go in, right? They give you a fake identity, so you go in, you check in, you have your own bungalow, and you immediately see like on the bungalow next to you, there's something going on with one of the targets. Then the other bungalow over there's something going on with a doctor that's related to one of the other targets. And it then becomes this whole game of there's so many immediate possibilities that happen because you immediately learn about this USB drive. And then in the process of trying to find that, it very clearly tells you about a way that you could get all three of these people in the same room together, which is another fun thing to do. Otherwise, it has one of my favorite people to kill, this super swarmy dude bro, like CEO guy or whatever, who's like running around, like lifting weights, just being as obnoxious. At one point, I found a treasure map. I found a bottle in the sand, and I shot the bottle, and there's a treasure map there. This level,
All right, I gotta play this thing. Yeah,
this level is so much fun, and it's so pretty. And I'm the guy who has a collection of tiki mugs. That's who I am.
Right.
So this speaks to me. But
you're not the only person I've heard say this, though. A lot of people have gone back to playing Hitman 2, and especially the DLC levels, because a lot of people played Hitman 2, and now they're getting ready for Hitman 3, and like, I should play those DLC levels first. And I've heard the same thing. People love this level.
It's great. Yeah. You have that resort area, and there's two targets kind of hanging around there. There's a small private island that one target will kind of go to just to run around, and he has his own private bar there. And then you have like the private residence where the guy who runs everything is, and he's like sick. And of course, there's the underground lab there, but also he's hanging out upstairs. Yeah, I gotta fight for best for this one. I love Haven.
No, I trust your judgment on this one. And like I said, I'm gonna go back and play a lot of these levels, and I'm definitely starting with Haven. I played it a little bit. I definitely did play through it at least once, but I did not play through it over and over again. There must have been some game that popped up at the same time that I needed to play. And I'm really glad that I have a level like this to go back to. That's very exciting.
Super fun.
So now we get to Hitman 3.
Yeah.
And a lot of these levels are very good. And we start with Dubai, which is another hotel stage, but it's not hotel rooms. This time it is like sort of like a public conference sort of thing, and a lot of public space. But a lot going on this stage. I really liked it.
It's cool how it's different from the other starter stages, where it's not a starter stage in that it's small. It's just that it's a bit easy to, especially the big main way you can kill the two people. That's relatively easy to do, right?
Yeah.
Get them in that room, and then they lock the room for you, and you can kill them. But there's a lot more you can do here, and it is relatively big. The start is a lot of fun, right? You literally infiltrate it from like the outside. Like that's the series doesn't always go for cinematic, but that moment is cinematic, and it's very cool.
This level has a couple of those things. This game actually has a couple of those moments. But the one time when you get up to the top level, you get up to the penthouse suite, and if you walk along the reflecting pool, if that's the
reflecting pool is great.
If that's the entrance you take in there, the camera pulls way back. It shows you the whole thing, and it's like, okay, they're showing off their reflection technology.
They're flexing a bit here. Yeah. And I like it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this game does feel like flexing, like showing that they are capable.
Bit of a victory lap.
Yeah, victory lap, but also showing that they are capable of doing something like James Bond. There's a lot of cool stuff happening in this stage, especially that I like all the ways that you can take on this stage. I think that yeah, you're right. Again, the classic two tier structure of the targets where one's walking around, one's hidden. And I liked infiltrating the guy's penthouse, with finding the ways to really, again, yeah, like you get up there, you brute force your way in there, and then you start poking it and seeing all the places you get down, and you find like a column you could slide down. And I immediately, when I was playing this during the preview process, I was like, man, I could probably do this pretty fast. And then I got into a small like speed running battle with someone and did it in a minute and 30 seconds and was like really impressed with myself. I'm like, this is pretty good. And then people are now doing it in 9 seconds, and you can tell this is the stage they set up for that stuff.
Right. Yeah. Because they're kind of both out there. Yeah, it's a stage where I don't really have any big complaints. It just,
Yes.
it's not as good as some of these other stages. It really always it does what it needs to do as an intro stage very well, especially this kind of intro stage. It really gets you in the mood. But yeah, it doesn't do anything amazing, I guess, except for some of the cinematic notes we talked about.
Yeah.
So is it good or great?
I think let's.
I mean, the only reason I want to say good is just because we're getting so top heavy.
Yeah, same here.
Like, I don't have any big complaints with this level, really. I guess it's not a level that after I do it, I don't necessarily feel like, oh, I saw that thing. What can I do there? It's maybe not the most creative or surprising level, right?
Yeah, it does have
a little flat.
Yeah, we haven't considered this too much, but it's got some really cool escalation missions. There's one where there's like Gold Devil telling you to kill people, and I threw an exploding golf ball at a woman, and she just disintegrated. She actually flew up to the ceiling, but it seemed like she disintegrated. Let's put it in great. I think we have to put it in great.
Okay,
I think we have to put it in great. Yeah, let's just. You're right. If it gets super top heavy, it feels like it might.
Is there only one level we're putting in not good?
I think that's what's happening here. Yeah, and that seems right.
Fair. It really is the only one I think isn't good.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, but before that, Dartmoor. Oh man, that seems like a pretty easy best to me. This is the best Hitman 3 level, right? This level rules.
And it's the best Hitman 3 level because you already do have Paris, and you already do have Sapienza, and you have Whittleton Creek. You have these levels where you don't want to do those things again. You don't want to do a cool fashion show area again. You don't want to do the cool Italian villa again, or any sort of seaside village again. You need to do something new. And so, so what can you do that's really interesting? And this is super interesting. Just this murder mystery stage, an English manor, turn it into just a legitimate Knives Out situation.
Right. And the murder mystery can matter as much or as little as you want it to.
Yes. And this is the one I was talking about earlier, where they're trying to debate about whether or not you should start as the detective, or if you should be able to infiltrate the place. And I'm really glad they didn't, and I'm really glad that they put them right in front of you at the very beginning of the stage. They force you to confront the fact that this is happening. You should probably want to do this. And once you actually follow through on that, it's like, oh man, there's so much I can do here as this detective. And it feels like a different game, but then you still see all the ways that you could still be Agent 47 about this sort of thing. And any time you have so much freedom in the state, you could just break off and kill the woman. A lot of people do that. If you decide to see through and actually solve the case, you don't necessarily need to really solve it. You can really solve it, and that benefits you and gets you in a situation where you can kill the target. Or you could just lie and frame someone else just to get in a position where you can kill the target.
That was so funny to me, because I got so into this murder mystery that when I realized I could just lie and put myself in an advantageous situation, I was like, oh, yes, I don't actually care who murdered this person.
Yeah.
That doesn't actually concern me. Right. Okay. Yeah, I guess. I was almost kind of sad. Like, I guess we'll just go.
And this... Go ahead.
No, there's so many smart things, like the way that you have to kind of open up that vault to get the other thing you need. It's a code. And the first, after you know the code, you know the code. You don't have to worry about that again. And that's like such a smart built-in shortcut.
Yes.
There's not that many stories here, but all three of them are so good. The detective thing, the thing with the photograph, and then being the Undertaker.
Yes.
I mean, killing the person by literally shoving them into the grave, their own grave,
and burying them, getting the stuff and burying them.
Literally
very
good. It's great.
And they're like and that detective story is so deep. It's, if you think about the fact that once you solve the case, you know who the murderer is. Well, that's a murderer. what are they going to do? That murderer is still walking around. Can you use that to your advantage when you sort of put 2 and 2 together there and follow that through to its logical conclusion? It gives you another situation where you could just be Agent 47 about it and say, I can stand back and watch something else happen. And again, it's that murder by proxy that feels so good.
The level is surprisingly big. Like for a long time, you don't even know that there's this greenhouse area.
Yeah.
And you're like, what's that about? I love the secret passageways in the mansion. That's so much fun. Especially when you realize there's that peephole where the target will actually like talk to it. It literally looks like she's. Can you like shoot her through that peephole? Is that a thing you can do?
I haven't tried. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if that's possible. You find the secret passages. You find the way to like enter the secret passages with the cane, and then again, when you think about who the murderer is and what she must have done, if you start like looking around, like you look at the map that she had, and you could find there's another secret room over to the side which has another way to solve the case. It's just so deep. There's so much happening.
This level made me feel like I know IO is making a James Bond game. Maybe I almost wish they were making like a Sherlock Holmes game, or maybe a Columbo game.
Yeah, I mean this
Murder, She Wrote.
Yes, Murder She. This feels like they saw Knives Out. It definitely feels like that because there's definitely references to Knives Out. But it feels like they got in a situation where maybe they were able to pitch a Knives Out movie, and this is them proving they could do it. And I think they really proved they could do it, but then the James Bond license came along instead, and I think that's probably the one they were like, well, we got to go with that if we can get that.
Yeah. It's best, yeah.
It's best, yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, I've played it. I've played that game for 90 hours. That's probably like 25 hours of it alone.
It's my most played mission in the whole trilogy. I don't do nearly as much of like the replaying missions as you do, but this was the one like where I did do quite a bit of that.
Yeah, I got the level 20 mastery, but then I just want to do every single challenge. It's so good.
Berlin.
Yeah. Berlin. I really like Berlin, but I think you were a little bit more iffy on it just because I think from an aesthetic point of view, is that what it is?
Yeah, well, here's my things with Berlin. Aesthetically, yeah, the whole kind of you said this before. You don't like dingy. This is dingy to me, and it's also like the loud nightclub thing, which I flirted with a little bit when I was younger and didn't like it that much then, and like it less now. I think it's kind of interesting. The whole there's multiple targets. You only need to kill so many, and you don't necessarily know who you are. I was a little disappointed because the setup made me feel like, oh, these are like other ICA agents. I'm going to be the one who's hunted this time, and that's not really what's happening. They act the same as any other targets. They're all right. They're kind of bumbling buffoons, right? It's very easy to find them and then kill them as if you were killing the old lady from Dartmoor.
Yes, you're right. You're not wrong about that. And I could see if that was your expectations. I can see you feeling that way for sure. For me, it was this is the level where there's no story missions, and yet there's so many if you really go looking for them.
Like there's becoming the Uber Eats driver for that guy. That's basically a story mission, right?
If becoming the club owner and
becoming
calling them in and having all 5 of the targets just come and like confront you because they know you're Agent 47. And you kick over the desk, you get behind the desk, and then you just have the shotgun. Bam, 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 bam. It's really cool.
Yeah, I almost do think that is the formula for the future. Instead of just having the straight up, like, super hand-holdy stories, right. I think that's the way to go for whatever the next Hitman is. So I do appreciate that. And I can kind of admit that there is some of my own preferences that go against this. I don't think it's an okay level. I think it is at least good for sure.
I another thing you said, I can't remember which one it was that reminded you going to PAX, going to Miami.
Yeah.
This one reminds me of like really cringy bad PAX parties and
again in a bad way.
Yeah, in a bad way. And E3 parties where
where's like the Cheesecake Factory level? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Jeff.
Oh god, Mike, why would you say that? Yeah, man, let us make our own level.
Where's the mod?
Yeah. Oh my god, Cheesecake Factory level would be fantastic.
Oh my god.
Because that's like the perfect environment for a restaurant level too. Oh my god, I hate you, Mike, for putting that in my head.
Or even honestly, just like an actual tech. Like imagine if there was a CES level.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many more possibilities still. We have to do a whole podcast about fantasy.
You're right. Yeah. I just there's a hallway in Berlin where you go from basically the dance floor out to the outside area, and it's really unpopulated. There's very few people in there, and everywhere else is super crowded. And it reminds me so much of those weird hallways at a party at PAX, where in like when Twitch decides to throw their big rave or whatever, and you have a bunch of awkward people who are always on camera in their basements coming to parties like this, and it feels so strange. It just nails that vibe so much that I was like, man, and I was thinking this, and I was watching like Dan Reichert play the other night, and he said the same exact thing. I'm like, yep, okay, he would know because he's been to those things. So I don't know. I really like this stage. I really like finding my own story missions. I thought that was really cool. That's what worked for me here. But I think I think you were right that maybe we should have felt more hunted as Agent 47 here, and them not changing, just them not changing that up is probably a problem.
Yeah, not yet, right. So maybe good's enough for this one. You have to let me bring it down a little bit.
I will let you bring it down. I think that's fine. I think it's good. That's what we're calling it good. It's still a good level. Absolutely. Chongqing's one where I'm still trying to find out how I feel about it. How about you?
I think that Chongqing is a better version of that Marrakesh Mumbai formula.
Yeah.
A little bit, if only because it's prettier, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has that whole kind of neon lights thing going on. It is another one where there's two targets and they feel incredibly separated from each other. Like it's almost two different levels in a way. I don't like the end of this either, how you're kind of forced into that escape sequence. I don't love that. But I like the whole like noodle shop that turns into the underground cave thing. Yeah, it's one that I don't know. Maybe it's not that much better than Mumbai or Marrakesh.
Yeah, let me think here. So I really like this. You're right. It's like Marrakesh, and it's very much they put a sniper rifle right there at the beginning, and if you just want to shoot them with a sniper rifle, it makes it very easy to do that. And but there is a really cool trick in this one where you can get to a terminal where you can fire certain employees inside of this building, inside of this the ICA data center. And if you time the firings correctly, you can get them to put the woman that you're trying to kill in position where you can kill her by flipping a switch. And that was cool. Now it was hard to figure out those timings. I don't think that they nailed it. It's a cool concept. The execution wasn't perfect. So I think this is why I'm up and down on this level. I like the concept. I think the execution was okay at best. So
something about the rain. The rain is really nice in this level.
It is a fantastic looking level. And I really agree. I really like the noodle shop. I also like the hotel. It does remind me of the few times I've traveled to like smaller European towns or small places that where it's like, oh, it's like a dingy little hotel in the middle of this very busy town. And I like when they nail those feelings. Yeah, let's put it in good. Yeah.
Mendoza.
This is the one I've been replaying recently. I think I really like it. I think it's very good. It definitely reminds me the most of Sapienza, since Sapienza.
Yeah, it is like Sapienza, with a little bit of like that kind of piercing where again one of the big targets is right there in the very beginning, right? And you see them. I almost wish there was being kind of the last level, I almost wish that this had a little bit of that swagger that that first level has in the game, Dubai. I wish I had a little bit of that. I almost kind of wish that the targets were more familiar at this point, right? We're wrapping up, and it was basically two new people that I wasn't all that invested in killing, right? I was almost more interested in Burnwood.
Yeah, but they do bring in Burnwood, and I think that really worked for me. Bringing in Diana Burnwood as a character who is actually walking around this stage, and you have to be concerned about her well-being, and the way that the stage ends with her with that dance is really good.
Although that is one of the most like maybe too ridiculous things when you're in any costume and you do that dance. It's like, well,
yeah, but I mean, the first time you do it, like I always consider like my first time through these levels as like the canonical run.
Yeah, okay.
And the first time I did it, she's like, go get back in your tuxedo or whatever, or wear something nice. And so I did. I went and got something nice, and then I went to go dance with her. But then I did eventually dressed as the Gold Devil. I went and danced with her, and it's ridiculous. but also really good
The
still.
best thing about this level is all the fun ways you can kill people with the wine stuff, right? There's like the
Yes.
grape crushers, there's the pulverizers, there's a lot of fun stuff there.
It is really fun when you figure out how you can get that target into the grape crusher and just wait for that right moment when everyone's looking away, and then you just smush her. It comes back up, and it's just a bloody mess down there, and everyone turns around. It's like, she must have left. All right, let's continue on the tour.
Oh my god, that's incredible.
It's so good. Yeah, this is another fun level where if you do want to get away from the handholdy stuff, there's a lot of fun paths through this place. There's if you want to do a suit only run on this one, I imagine it would be very cool to figure out how that path would work. And you can come at it from really different angles. So you depend if you want to try to take on the guy that is hidden away. If you want to try to take him on first, that is really, it's really cool to try to break into his little house and figure out all the ways that maybe you can kill him. The murder by proxy. There is a murder by proxy challenge here where you can kill both targets without actually killing them yourself. And figuring out that one with his wife was very cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's just a lot of cool stuff happening in this level.
I think it's a great level. It's missing a little something to make it in that best tier. But it's got a lot of things going for it. I think the whole winery setting is great. That's a very smart level.
You explained you're like, oh yeah, I electrocuted people in the wine, so I went to go try that, and then watching the wine gush down on the floor, it looked really good. It was really convincing to me. Let's put it in great. You're right. It's not quite Sapienza. It does feel it feels a little bit like retreading that ground of having this really beautiful this beautiful country, this beautiful natural setting, and then having the industrial thing right there built into it as well. It's a little bit different wine versus this whatever that underground lab was, but I still like Sapienza a little bit better.
I agree.
And then we have our not good stage, right?
Yeah, and it's a bummer that it's the last one, right? It's a bummer that they kind of end on a bit of a mediocre.
I mean, and there's a lot of promise in the name, right? Carpathian Mountains. You get in your head like, what could they do there? I mean, it's Romania. Maybe they're going to bring back the Dracula costume or whatever.
Right, especially compared to the really strong final stages for the last two games, right? Those are the beginning is good, especially that reveal when you're on the train.
When it opens up, it feels like a Mission Impossible stage where you don't realize you're on a train, and then you open the door and the camera pans out real quick, and all of a sudden he's just on the side of the train, and the wind's whipping over you. It really does feel like a Mission Impossible movie.
But then, like two trains after that, the train should have just went into a train station, and then that could have become the level or something, right? It should have opened up.
Station level be good. Yeah,
you're on that train, and they try to do the thing with like everyone's a target on this one, and I'm like, oh, okay, and so you're kind of, it's okay to kill people, and all of a sudden I'm playing this level unlike I played any other game, and I've since seen how you can do it passive, and it's a very specific.
Yes, I'm sure it's just one route through it. Yes, yeah,
pretty much. So, and I almost understand. I love a good train stage, right? But even compared to other train stages, this is almost going back to an old time where it's like it's a train stage. It's going down a very straight path. We have looping scenery. Like the big thing with Uncharted 2's train stage, where everyone freaked about it, was that it was this train like going in an actual curvy train line, going through different sceneries and things, right? So it's not as like it compares unfavorably to that game from 2009.
And it doesn't nail the vibes like we talked about earlier, where the level makes a promise and the level is trying to evoke a feeling of going to a certain place in real life. I've been on trains and I've imagined what it would be like to be a secret agent on a train. Of course, I have. I'm a nerd. I've seen Indiana Jones and him saying no ticket and throwing someone off, and him
on the Orient Express, right?
Literally dressing up as a German to like throw someone off the thing. Like it happened in an Indiana Jones movie. So like these things are existing in my head, and it doesn't deliver on any of that. It doesn't really feel like trying to sneak through a train.
A train level where you were maybe just, maybe it was like a murder on the Orient Express, right? Where there's a murder mystery on the train, and you're not necessarily everyone's going to shoot you on sight kind of a character. maybe that would be a bit more interesting. But yeah,
I'm full. I bet they know exactly what they made. I bet they know that it doesn't really feel like a Hitman level, and I bet it was budgetary concerns. They're an independent studio now,
yeah.
publishing their own game. I bet this is like, we want to have 6 levels. We can't afford 6 levels. What can we do that is different? And it's different enough that it sort of justifies being its own stage, and yet small enough that we can accomplish it. And not to let them off the hook. It's not a good stage. It's not good.
I bet I could see how it sounded better in concept.
Yeah.
I feel like, and then like once it came together and it was kind of done, you're like, this isn't really working that well. But
there's no room for creativity. Each car is just another encounter. It's another enemy encounter.
There's the weird thing where all of a sudden, like, you have the rusty crowbar and the everything's rusty, so you can only use it once.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so different from everything else, and not in like a good way. And there's not too many ways you can handle the constant at the end. Like, there should have just been a level where the constant was the target, and it was really interesting and fun. And
I mean, it should have been like, you should have killed the constant probably in the second to last stage. I'm forgetting now, Mendoza, and then Diana Burnwood should have. I guess you don't want to make her a damsel, but you should be like rescuing someone on the train, something like that. Let's make it really feel like a coda. Make it feel like an epilogue instead of like oh, this is where you're going to kill the constant, because it doesn't earn that build up at all.
No, it doesn't. So yeah, this is the misstep in the series. And again, like, the only thing that makes, like, this is the only one and not good, and that's great, right? But the fact that the last one, it is a bit of like, really, that's where we had to put the worst level in this.
And I was very forgiving. I still am very forgiving of it in terms of how I feel about it. Because I was really happy with all of the 5 stages in Hitman 3. And if it would just been those 5 stages, I would have felt the exact same way about the game. So yeah, it's a misstep, and it's a little bit of a bummer, but it doesn't ruin the experience for me at all. Not really, except for maybe what you said about killing the constant there and what it means for the story. That's the biggest part for me that really kind of hurt it.
Right. Yeah, it's a bit of a whimper for an ending, but
lots of good stuff here, though.
Yeah, again, that's the only one we have in the bottom tier, and the second least populated one is the second to last bottom tier. Do you wanna go through our tiers here?
Yeah, let's do it. So let's go from the bottom up. So not good is the Carpathian Mountains. Then in okay, we have the ICA Training Facility, Colorado, and Santa Fortuna. In good, we have Marrakesh, Hawke's Bay, Mumbai, Berlin, and Chongqing. In great, we have Bangkok, Miami, Isle of Sgail, the New York Bank, Dubai, Mendoza. In best, Paris, Sapienza, Hokkaido, Whittleton Creek, Haven, and Dartmoor. That's just a lot of like all-time great stages in video games. It really is.
Yeah, and I really am like all those, like, yeah, those are all so good.
Yeah.
I'd have a hard time picking like my absolute favorite. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's Dartmoor, but I would have a hard,
Yeah, and again, I think we'll get some more distance from it and be like, if I had to give up any stage, or if I like had to only pick one stage and I could only ever play one stage, maybe it wouldn't be Dartmoor.
Right, yeah, that's the one thing, because it's not the biggest stage.
Right. But it's man, I'm really, really, really glad we got it. I'm really glad we got all the but yeah, a lot of other games should be jealous of this hit level. There's just so much good stuff here.
I mean, that's why the trilogy is so good, because like so much of it is great. And again, even like these okay stages, they're still fun to play because the foundations of Hitman are so good.
Yep.
Like I didn't have an awful time playing through Santa Fortuna. I just compared to everything else was kind of whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, Mike, I feel pretty good about this, and what I really feel like is playing some more Hitman, so I might just go do that right now.
A little late for Mikey on the East Coast.
I hear you. Yeah, we're recording this late on a Friday night, so we're going to get out of here, everybody. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, if that's how you chose to consume this. Mike, say goodbye to everybody, and let's get out of here.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Have a good one. We'll catch you next time.